Namaste. I welcome you all to Krishna Fest. Today we are going to talk on a very interesting topic, which is parenting and Ayurveda. Does parenting have any connection with Ayurveda? We will find out. Before we begin, let us chant some prayers, invoke the blessings of the Lord and the Gurus who have made this knowledge from the Shastras very accessible and easy to all of us. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So let's see what we are going to talk in this session today. First topic we would talk about is Ayurveda, the way of life. How can we make Ayurveda a very natural practice for our life? Secondly, I will introduce you to our authentic lineage of Ayurveda known as Braja Manjari Ayurveda, from where I was fortunate to learn my Ayurveda from. Thirdly, we will understand that why I call Ayurveda the backbone of parenting journey. And next, we will go through 5 different ways to integrate Ayurveda into parenting. In these 5 ways, I am going to go through the principles of Ayurveda, and then we will see how easily and simply we can integrate these principles in our day-to-day life. Next, let's begin. Ayurveda, the way of life. So scientifically, Ayurveda is defined as Ayushyo Vedaha Ayurvedaha. Ayurveda is known as the science of life. Please note, it is the science of life, and it doesn't say science of medicine or science or a healthcare system. So this means that the Ayurveda definitely has something more to do than just being a medical science. We can understand this by a simple analogy. I call Ayurveda as a user manual of life. Whenever you get an electronic gadget from a market, it comes with a user manual. The user manual tells us about the best practices to use this electronic gadget. It also mentions the do's and the don'ts for using this gadget. And finally, there are some troubleshooting ideas in case you hit some roadblocks while using this gadget. Similarly, when this human body was created, we were sent with a user manual called Ayurveda. Ayurveda talks about the best practices, how to keep our body in rhythm with the nature. The do's and the don'ts, specifically the don'ts, where sometimes you talk about certain food combinations that don't go well with each other and we shouldn't consume them. And thirdly, the troubleshooting ideas, which is the medical part or the medicine part of Ayurveda, where we have different herbs to help us if we hit any sickness or roadblocks on the journey of health. SV Ayurveda, also known as Braja Manjari Ayurveda, it is an authentic lineage which can be traced back to Bhavishya Puran. It is said that these doctors or the Brahmins lived in the Shakha Dweep, and they were called to India when Krishna's son Shambh acquired leprosy. 10 families of this lineage moved to India and they established sun temples and cured the leprosy which was acquired by Shambh. Something that is very close to my heart, which my teacher always stressed on, is this sutra of Ayurveda in Charak Samhita, which you can see is without proper nutrition, medicine is of little use, and with proper nutrition, medicine is of little need. So in this lineage of Ayurveda, we focus a lot on using food as medicine. Now we will dive into why do we see Ayurveda as a backbone in parenting journey. We are very fortunate that we have been blessed with this Shastra, which helps us with very technical measures to be taken in different phases of life. Preconception to pregnancy to postpartum to starting solids for your infant, and then special nutrition that should be provided when your kids are small, they grow as toddlers and beyond. So every stage can be a big workshop. You can go into a lot of depth into these stages. What we are going to focus today is on general principles which will help our kids to grow. I assume all of you who are hearing this presentation already have kids and have started your journey of parenting. So now let's understand 5 ways to integrate Ayurveda in your parenting journey. Ayurveda can be an excellent tool to make your parenting journey actually simple and easy. There are 5 terms that I have coined here to understand this concept. First one is Prakriti. This helps us understand the nature, the make of your child better, so that we can understand the child's physical attributes or mental affinities and act accordingly. In fact, we can even understand the digestion of the child accordingly and provide food and nutrition based on that. Next is Poshan or nutrition. This is a very important part of the growth of the child. As Taittiriya Upanishad explains the theory of Panchakosh, about the development of the human soul and body. The first kosh is known as the Annamayi kosh. This is as the word suggests, Anna is food. So rest all the koshas, the growth of these koshas depend on the level of growth and development of this kosha. And this kosha is developed when the kids are young, and hence right menu planning and nutrition becomes very, very important for kids in this age. Next is Prakaradharini, which also means a platform. You can actually use Ayurveda as a tool to help cure simple diseases, day-to-day diseases, such that you actually increase the immunity of the child, gain him long-term benefits for his health, and also avoid side effects. Next, Pratidinam or Dinacharya, by infusing certain habits of doing things in a timely manner, such that they integrate these principles as a way of lifestyle. And lastly, we will explore Prayog Atmaka, which means how we will make this practical and fun for our kids. Let's dive in. The first one, Prakriti. So firstly, let's understand certain principles so that we can understand the Prakriti of our children and then move ahead from there. To understand the Prakriti, we need to understand the concept of prana. Prana is also known as the vibrational energy. It is said, Deha Prana Samyoge Ayu. When the Deha or the body is together with the prana or the life force, then there is Ayush or increase of age. This prana mainly comes from the 3 energies, Soma, Agni and Marut. Soma is the lunar energy, Agni comes from the solar energy, and Marut is the etheric energy. These 3 main energies are further divided into the 5 basic elements of nature, namely earth, water, fire, air and ether. And these 5 elements of nature interact with each other and combine with each other in different proportions and form different prakritis. So as we can see, when the earth element and the water element come together, they form Kapha Prakriti. When the fire element and the water element, they come together, they form the Pitta Prakriti. And when the air and the space come together, they form Vata Prakriti. So now it is very easy for us to understand that the qualities of people or things we look around with Kapha predominant energy or Kapha Prakriti are the qualities of earth and water. They are heavy, they are grounded. When you put some water into the earth, is what you imagine a Kapha Prakriti or a Kapha predominant person would be. When we talk of Pitta Prakriti, it is water and fire. So they have more fire element in themselves. So you would see that all of us are not same. There are some people who get angry very quickly. They have more fire element in them. And there are people who have more air and space energy in them. So when air and space energy is predominant in them, they imbibe the qualities of air. You can think about some qualities of air are like air flows very quickly, it is fast, it doesn't stay in one place for a time. So you see some people who get excited very quickly, they are very fast, they want to get things done very fast. Their mental disposition also doesn't allow them to be stationary with one thing. So these people are more predominant in the Vata energy, and they are called Vata Prakriti people. You can even divide vegetables that you see into Kapha, Pitta and Vata. For example, the chilies, very easily we can identify them under Pitta Prakriti. And the sweet potatoes, which are heavy, they have more earthy or grounding energy, called the Kapha Prakriti. And the spinach, the greens that grow, which are light in weight, they come under the Vata Prakriti. Now, to understand our kids a little more deeply, I have taken 4 attributes which we will study to understand different people, and here we are going to focus more on kids. So let's study the attribute called physical body. So you can see that some kids are very slender and some kids are very heavy. Even if there are 2 kids in the same household eating the same food, sometimes there is a kid who cannot put weight so easily, whereas the other kid may not be eating too much but puts on weight very easily. So it is about which energy is dominant among them. Here we are talking about the normal natural make of the kid. But if the Vata, for example, goes to a superlative degree of imbalance, then you can see in the second line I have written the attributes which may be the superlative version of being slender, which is unwanted weight loss. So that definitely needs attention. But for now we will focus on only normal attributes so that we can understand the different nature of our children. So next, going to digestion. We see some kids have a sensitive stomach. Once they eat, they have a gas forming digestion or bloating. So these kids have Vata energy predominant in them. The Pitta predominant energy kids have a very strong digestion. So they start feeling hungry very often. And the Kapha predominant kids have slow digestion. So they may not feel hungry that often and they keep feeling full for quite a long time. I myself have experienced this with my 2 kids. One of my kid would eat khichdi and sleep very happily in the night. But my daughter cannot be satisfied with only khichdi. I need to give her some heavy stuff so that she gets sound sleep in the night. So that's how the Prakritis work. Next topic is sleep. So this is a very important thing in the journey of parenting, especially when kids are small. So when the parents who have kids who are predominant in Kapha energy are the luckiest in this matter, because their kids sleep sound. You can carry the kids along through a crowded place, a noisy place, but if that's the time when the kid has to nap, the kid is going to keep asleep. Whereas parents with kids who have Vata Prakriti or Vata predominant energy in them, they would actually sometimes spend 2 hours putting their kids to sleep just to see that the kid will be up within half an hour. And sometimes we tell our kids that at least sleep for the time I have put my energy to make you sleep. So that's how different kids sleep. And now coming to mental disposition. Sometimes in this space of mental disposition, we end up telling our kids, how can you be like this, or how can you do like this? Versus sometimes we even compare our kids that look at your friend Parth, he sleeps nicely, he wakes up nicely, he does everything nicely. But we fail to understand that every kid is made very, very different. So let's understand the mental disposition of kids with different Prakritis. The Vata predominant kids, they will be sensitive, enthusiastic, very communicative, cheerful, but also get irritated very fast with some noise, some smell. These kids are generally extrovert. If the vata goes too much out of balance, then you will see these kids as being restless, talkative, they have lot of mood swings. The pitta predominant kids, they are emotional, they are passionate, they have a sharp intellect, they are very, very courageous, and they are natural leaders. But if this pitta goes too much intense, then they can be rigid, pushy, bossy, jealous. Next is the kapha prakriti kids. They are very caring, compassionate, very lovable, loyal, but one complaint these parents have, that they are very slow, or sometimes they tend to get very lazy also. So we have to understand that we are always going to get a package. If you want somebody to be fast, then you will have that child with a talkative time frame. So it's all about what package we have, how we understand our kids, and accordingly deal with them. So the next topic that we are going to discuss is about poshan. Poshan, or giving deep nourishment, giving right nutrition to your kids. This is a very important topic, as I said, and we are going to spend a lot of time on this. It is a bit technical, but we will slowly go through the principles leading up to menu planning, and you will see how you yourself feel empowered to create your own menus which are based on the principles of Ayurveda. So excited? Let's jump in. First and the foremost principle or consideration while we go to the topic of menu planning is selecting right foods. There is a very, very famous saying called "you are what you eat." For the ease of understanding, my teacher divided the foods into 3 categories, namely intelligent, dumb, and dead food, just so that we easily know which ones should we pick. When you are what you eat, you would definitely want you and your kids to be intelligent. So it is a very easy selection to pick up intelligent foods. Let's understand what do we mean by intelligent foods. Intelligent food means foods that are alive, fresh, and full of prana. Just to describe this, imagine you picked a freshly grown carrot from a field, came from farm straight to your table. You are peeling the carrot, and while you peel, you hear the crisp sound of its peel, and there are some splashes of fresh juices falling on your hands because the carrot is fresh. So that is called an alive, fresh, and full of prana vegetable. Whereas imagine a carrot which has been chopped and put into your freezer, and you take it out as a frozen carrot to make your vegetable. You just feel, when you see and when you imagine, you can actually feel the difference. Intelligent food also means the food ingredients that are organic, pesticide free, less treated, less chemicals. They have a proper combination of ingredients and spices. We will get into the details in a few more minutes. Seasonal. So this is very important. Mother Nature actually produces the foods that are good for human body according to the seasons, and so we must definitely take advantage by choosing seasonal foods and consuming them. Foods that feel light after eating. There is a difference between feeling full and feeling heavy. So actually, when you start practicing Ayurvedic principles and eating in a right way, you will understand this difference, that you don't feel choked or heavy in your stomach after eating. You feel full, but you're feeling light, you're feeling energetic. You should feel energetic after eating food rather than feeling sleepy or sluggish or tired. This food should be consumed within 4 hours of cooking. So the food that is left overnight or the leftovers, they all fall under category of dumb foods. And another degree of dumb foods, when it is processed, microwaved, junk, deep fried, these all foods fall under the category of dead food. The foods also which are not in right combination, they also affect your digestive system. So a simple test is to just change the way you look at packets at the grocery store. I usually don't buy packeted foods, and even if I am put in a situation where I have to buy a packeted food, I do a simple test by looking at the ingredients of each packet. The packet which has the least number of ingredients is what I pick, because we want less number of pesticides, less number of preservatives, and foods that are as much as close to nature that we want to select. So once you have selected the foods, let's understand what are food combinations that I talked about, which fall under the category of dumb food. So imagine two people who just don't go well with each other. They don't even like to see each other. They are put in one room. It is going to be a very, very uncomfortable situation for them, right? Similarly, there are certain combination of foods that don't go right with each other. When they come together, they undergo such a chemical reaction in our body, and they cause slow poisoning or long-term diseases in our body. So the foods that you see on the screen which are marked cross, they are the food combinations that we don't want to consume. The first one is milk with salt. So when I say this to many of my clients, the first question they ask me, so is white sauce not a right thing to do? Unfortunately, the answer is yes, because in the process of making white sauce, you use milk and then you use salt with it. But don't worry, don't get depressed, because we have alternatives. It's just the shift in mindset we need to have. There are ways to work around it. We can use almond milk and make your white sauce. Next is yogurt with green leafy vegetables. They don't go well. Please note, cilantro, which is coriander, then methi leaves, mint, they are all herbs. So they are fine with the yogurt, but the green leafies like spinach, kale, collard greens, they don't go well with the yogurt. Milk or yogurt with fruits doesn't fit well. And milk with yogurt, they have a wrong chemical combination. So we do not consume milk along with yogurt. Now there are some good combinations, like hot milk should always be consumed hot or warm and cooked along with spices, because spices aid the digestion of milk. To use the least, we should use cinnamon and cardamom when we boil the milk. Cinnamon helps to digest the sugars in the milk, and cardamom helps to digest the protein part of the milk. We want to make sure that we derive maximum benefit of milk when we consume. So it is always good to give these aids. It's just smart way of doing things. Another good thing to do is top your meals with lime. Lime, in modern way we say it has good vitamin C, it helps absorption of nutrients. But using lime while you cook the dish, like adding the lime when the dish is actually getting hot, for example you're cooking a dal and you're adding lime right when it is being cooked, actually turns the lime acidic. In this modern day and age, with the pollution, the food and the type of atmosphere we live in, our bodies are already agneya or acidic. And when we add this lime in cooking and we have a dal which is acidic in its shape and form, we are going to add more acidity to our body, which is not desirable. So it's always good to take the dal off the stove, let the hot vapors cool down, and then add the lime when the dal is still warm. Go same with the vegetables or any other meal that you want to use lime with. Another good combination to use is green veggies with good ghee, good probiotic ghee and ginger. I write this just to give an example, how do we balance all the doshas. We talked about how greens like spinach are predominant in the vata dosha or the vata energy, and when we use ginger and ghee while cooking the greens, they actually help grounding the vata of this spinach, and then you can balance the vata energy of spinach and consume it well. So we learnt about right food selection, selecting intelligent food. We learnt about what combinations to avoid and what combinations to favor. Another important topic in this series is processing the ingredients in the correct way, and in Sanskrit we call it giving it right samskara. This is very very important, because sometimes you may have the best of the ingredients, but if you don't process them well, then your body doesn't digest them well, and then causes bad health eventually. So some things that people really ask me, that should we consume raw foods? If you are talking about foods being close to nature, why should we cook them? But it is just like you are using your mixie or a blender to grind spices. The blender is made to grind spices and it does it very well. But if you think that I'm going to use this blender to grind some pieces of wood, it is just matter of time that in a few cycles your blender is going to give up. So similarly, the less work you do outside, more work the body or the stomach has to do inside. And hence when you eat raw, the cooking part, giving agni part to that food is being done inside. With people with good agni, with pitta predominant agni, may respond okay to that, but eventually you are overusing your system. So in general, it is good to consume cooked food. And with this comes an important topic about using spice proportions. So my teacher used to say spice is a grammar of cooking. And it is very true in a sense that all the masalas, all the spices, the recipes of the masalas were very very scientific. If you see, if you study, there is a perfect proportion of coriander powder, 3 parts of coriander with 1 part of cumin, with half a part of black pepper. They just fill these masalas are just perfect in proportion for action in our body. So it is very important to spice our food appropriately to aid digestion and to get maximum benefit out of this digestion. Now as we are going deeper into the topic, we are coming to a next topic called the 6 tastes to balance the 3 doshas. So this topic and the next topic, the next 2 slides, we are going to talk about the building blocks of menu planning. When you plan your menus, the first and foremost thing is you want your meals to be tridoshik. Tridoshik meaning balancing all the 3 doshas. So most of the times when we cook tridoshik meals, you can cook in one go for all the family members. You don't want to cook 4 meals for different Prakriti people for 4 members of your family. So it is an intelligent move to make tridoshik meals. And the first way to make a meal tridoshik is to include all the 6 tastes. So in Ayurveda, the 6 tastes or the 6 rasas are Madhur or sweet, amla or sour, lavana or salty, katu or pungent or pungent spicy, tikta is bitter, and kashaya meaning astringent. The amount or the proportion of these tastes in your meals are in the same hierarchy as you see. So for example, the madhur taste should be the maximum. Of course, madhur doesn't mean sugar. It's just the naturally predominant flavor. So the grains, paneer, yogurt, squashes, milk, they all come under madhur rasa. Next is sour, and next is salty. So you see the salty taste or lavana comes at number 3. So even now when you would be cooking, you exactly know that the amount of chapati or rice that you have on your meal is not equal to the salt that you have added in your food. So in the same way, you start reducing and add the proportions accordingly. Coming to sour taste, it is important to have some sour taste in your food, and kokum or the flower of kokum, the white flowers of kokum are recommended, called Garcinia. They are sour. Lime on top, that's a sour taste. Again, salt, natural Sendav salt is good to use because it has more added minerals and it also helps not retain toxins. Next, going to katu or spicy, pungent taste. Black pepper, ginger, chili, they all come under pungent taste. We need pungent taste to clear off our channels. It is known as yoga vahi. So while the food is getting absorbed in the body, the pathways need to be free. So every taste has its own function, It is a very beautifully and scientifically designed science. Next is bitter taste. The bitter greens, karela, methi, they all fall under bitter taste. And kashaya or astringent taste, which helps in good absorption of nutrients in the body. So cumin, radish, lentils or dal, pomegranate, they all come under kashaya taste. So we've just finished step 1 of menu planning. We will include 6 tastes when we plan menu, and next is the most important part of menu planning, which is nourishing of 7 dhatus. So nourishing of 7 tissues or dhatus, these 7 tissues or dhatus are the building blocks of our body. They are seen as the base frame network in Ayurveda, the way our body is formed, and each dhatu, the health of each dhatu depends on the health of previous dhatu. So it is very important that the health of rasa dhatu, right beginning from the first dhatu, is very taken care of very nicely. And then nutrients, the menu should be planned such a way that every dhatu gets its own nutrient. So let's just see which foods help nourish which dhatus. So the first one is rasa or plasma tissue dhatu. The foods that nourish this dhatu are grains and fruits. Rakta dhatu, it is nourished by iron rich foods, so spinach, kale, beets, carrots, they have good iron. Next is mamsa or muscle tissue, and protein rich food is very good for nourishing the mamsa dhatu. So dals, lentils, paneer, milk, yogurt. Maida or fat tissue, so the foods that we need to have good fats also in our diet. We don't need to avoid them because we need to nourish our fat tissue, but we should always have good fats, and good fat means good probiotic ghee. Ghee is another big topic in itself, but cultured ghee from the cream of A2 cows, cultured into yogurt, churned into butter, is a best kind of ghee. Olive oil is a good fat, but it shouldn't be cooked, so topping it up your meals with olive oil is good. Sesame oil is another oil which has a high flame point, so we use it has even a higher flame point than ghee, but sesame oil can be heating for a lot of people, so ghee is the best fat to use. Next is the bone tissue or the asti dhatu. Calcium rich food actually nourishes our bones and asti dhatu, so it is very good to have some coconut, sesame seeds, again milk and paneer are also rich in calcium. The majja dhatu or the bone marrow is nourished and taken care of when your bones are healthy, so you actually get good nutrition from the bones to the bone marrow. There are no particular foods actually, that vegetarian foods that actually nourish the bone marrow directly, but if your bone is in good health, the bone marrow will definitely be in good health. And lastly, we come to the shukra dhatu or the reproductive tissue. So as we see that if all the tissues are nourished, then your shukra dhatu will be nourished, but also there are some shukralu foods which actually nourish the shukra dhatu, and milk and paneer again come in that list. Suran and ratalu are the 2 root vegetables that directly nourish the shukra dhatu, so these are good to include in your meals. This process of nourishing the dhatus is incomplete without actually detoxing the dhatus. By detoxing I mean cleaning up of the dhatus. So it is like when we cook in the kitchen and then simultaneously we clean the kitchen. So cooking and cleaning the kitchen go hand in hand. So usually when we plan menus, we also consider the foods which are also cleaning the dhatus. But today we are talking about kids, and kids are in a phase where these dhatus are developing stage by stage, age by age, and so we are not going to focus on cleaning, but we are going to focus on nourishing them right way. And unless your kid doesn't actually eliminate through natural urges daily or has diarrhea, in either of these cases, if you see that at least once a day they do not visit the washroom and don't eliminate nicely, then we need to actually address the issue of cleaning or elimination, because then lot of toxins are getting accumulated in the body. But for a normal healthy child, we focus more on nourishment in this age. So now that we actually studied in the choice of foods, intelligent foods, the wrong combinations that we should avoid, the combinations that we should prefer, we studied a building blocks of menu planning by including 6 tastes and the nourishing the 7 dhatus, and also learned how should we cook by giving right samskara to the foods. Based on all these principles that we learned, I am going to go through a sample menu planning with you, so that you understand that what you should think when you are planning menu for the day. So for breakfast, I have put milk with a grain. Milk goes very well with a grain like suji or oats, or having granola milk. So that's a good breakfast. For lunch, I have taken roti, lauki and radish sabji, moong dal, rice, beet salad and probiotic buttermilk. So now let's go step by step. The roti and the rice, they are predominant in Madhur Rasa, and they both are grains that nourish the Rasa Dhatu. So we have taken care of the Rasa Dhatu. Then we have Rakta Dhatu. We have a beet salad taking care of Rakta Dhatu. Then we come to dal, which is nourishing our Mamsa Dhatu. So muscle is taken care of. We will cook these vegetables in good ghee. So we'll take care of good fats, the Meda Dhatu. Then we come to the bone and the bone marrow, and I have added probiotic buttermilk there. So it is taking care of the bone tissue. So and then again we have had milk in the breakfast, which is taking care of our Shukra Dhatu. So we are just making sure that during the course of the day, we are including all the nutrients such that we are touching every dhatu and all aspects to give proper nutrition to our kids. Between lunch and dinner, we could give a fruit bowl to kids. Fruits should be had by themselves, not with the meals, because fruit have a lot of soma energy, and they need a lot of energy from the body to get digested. And if we mix them with our food, the body is going to get divided in terms of energy to digest the fruit or the food. So it is always better to eat fruits by themselves. And then we come to dinner, where we can have a vegetable khichdi with greens. We had not included greens in our lunch, so we are taking care of having some healthy greens in the night with some good herbs like coriander mint chutney. So if you actually study this menu, I have imbibed all the slides that we have studied, assuming we will of course buy all the intelligent food ingredients and make right choices. Now that I have done this, let's do a quick exercise so that you all feel confident that you can also plan this. It is very, very simple. So the first exercise is, I will give you 2 minutes to think that what is missing in this menu or what is wrong about this menu. If you can just think, roti, palak paneer sabji, rice, beet salad and yogurt, that's our menu. Does it sound right? Does it cover all the aspects that we have studied? Just give it a minute. I can give you 2 hints here and then leave the exercise further up to you. So one thing is clearly I can see that palak or spinach is the green, and it has been put with yogurt or curd over here. So which is a wrong food combination, which we studied in the second principle of menu planning. So we do not have wrong food combinations at one time. And other thing which I can very clearly see in this menu is there is no dal, hence there is no nourishment to the muscle tissue to make this menu complete. There are few more additions definitely needed in that, but I will leave it up to you to study, reflect and think more. Exercise 2 is more about the question that might be going on in your mind now that we have gone through menu planning. That is Ayurveda only about roti, sabji, dal and rice, What will I do for food choices that my kid has, and how will I satisfy his tongue and taste, the things that he gets attracted to when he goes out and sees his friends eat some fancy food. So the simple answer, because we have to make the ancient wisdom relevant to the modern world that we are living in. So to make the best of the situation we are in, the best thing we can do is use these ancient principles and apply it to the modern cuisine. So this exercise is for you. Select a cuisine of your choice, the cuisine that your kid loves. It can be Italian, it can be Mexican, it can be Thai, and then apply all these principles of Ayurveda and plan a menu and see how empowered and confident you feel to take on this journey of Ayurveda, which is a combination of taste and health together. It can't get any better. So now that we have understood the Prakriti of our kids, we have understood that every kid has a different nature, we have also understood menu planning. Now we are ready to apply the principles of menu planning in our day-to-day life. We are becoming advanced students in Ayurveda. So let's jump on to the next topic, which is the third one, called Prakaradharini, or a platform for curing. So our human life also undergoes different phases which are divided into Kapha, Pitta and Vata. So 0 to 13 is a phase known as predominant in Kapha phase, and then teenage, as the 13 starts, it is the Pitta phase, and that's why we see lot of teenagers angry and angry teenagers with acne. So that's because the Pitta energy is predominant in that phase. And then as we hit the age of 30, the Vata starts increasing in our body with the age. So now coming back to 0 to 13, where kids are in this Kapha phase, we see that they frequently fall sick with some simple illnesses like cold and cough, sometimes vomiting, diarrhea, because this phase they are naturally prone to diseases. So we will learn that how right from our home kitchen, right by applying these Ayurvedic principles using simple ingredients and some mindful cooking techniques, we can overcome these frequent illnesses and also have added benefits, which we will learn shortly. So we are going to learn two principles here and then learn how to apply these two principles. This first shloka is from the book Bhava Prakash by Bhava Mishra of the Shakhavanshi Ayurveda lineage, and he explains that which taste, we already know about the 6 tastes, and so now we are learning that which taste balance each dosha and which taste actually aggravate or increase the problems of the dosha. Okay, so the verse goes like this: Tatradyam marutam granti tayastikta dayakafam kashayatikta madhura pitta manyetu kurvate. Meaning the 3 tastes that balance the vata dosha are sweet, sour and salty, and the 3 tastes, as you can see, that aggravate the vata are pungent, bitter and astringent. Similarly for pitta, the 3 balancing tastes are astringent, bitter and sweet. The 3 tastes that aggravate pitta are sour, salty and pungent. The 3 tastes that balance kapha are pungent, bitter and astringent, and the 3 tastes that aggravate or increase the kapha are sweet, sour and salty. Just remember this principle for now. We are going to shortly apply it. Next principle is this verse from Charak Samhita, which says Sarvada Sarva Bhavanam Samanya Vriddhi Karanam, meaning like increases like and causes imbalance and opposites decrease, which means that if, for example, you have a kapha imbalance, you have a common cold and cough, meaning the kapha is increased in your body, and then if you are having some cold water or cold foods or ice cream for that matter, you are actually adding more kapha predominant food in the body. So like increases like, your cold is going to not get better but even increase, because the kapha imbalance will increase in the body. And similarly, the opposites, the taste which will be opposite, like pungent is a opposite taste to Madhur, and it is going to actually decrease the kapha dosha and going to help you overcome that. So now using these two principles, we are going to take a situation where a kid, for example, has cough and cold. How would you use food as medicine and actually help this kid overcome his cough and cold? A kid with cough and cold shows that the kapha is imbalanced and the kapha element has increased, gone up in the body. So we will use the principle that we are going to add the foods which are pungent, bitter and astringent in nature, and avoid the foods that are sweet, sour and salty. Okay. So foods that are pungent, bitter and astringent, that I have written in the example here. Pungent, like you can see, ginger, black pepper, chilies, cloves, radish. So now if you just think for a minute, all our home remedies for curing cough and cold that our grandmothers told us had some ginger with honey, had some black pepper kadha and cloves, and the foods that will help by increasing the bitter taste are methi, karela, dark green leafy, neem. They are bitter taste which will actually help the cold. And the astringent are pomegranate, broccoli, Brussels sprout, lentils or dals. So now you see lot of in south of India, lot of people talk about rasam being the solution for when you have cold and cough. So the rasam has the dal and then have some pungent taste out there. Sometimes what I do is, when my child is having some cough and cold, I make one recipe which includes all these taste to help him overcome this cold. For example, I will make uttappams out of moong dal. So my moong dal, so if you see your astringent taste, moong dal I have taken, the lentil I have taken, and then I will chop in some methi, some radish, grate in some ginger, chop in some spinach. So I have covered all the three tastes, and it's my power packed food to give in one go to my kid to overcome his sickness, to help his body fight this disease. And the foods that you should avoid, especially when they are suffering from cold, are sweet foods like pears, watermelon or rice for that matter comes under Madhur Rasa, sweet taste. Then sour foods, like you avoid giving dahi, yogurt. Citrus foods, fermented foods again come under the foods of sour category. Salty foods which has too much salt, like popcorns or kurmura, as we call puffed rice, which have so much salt. So this is going to help control the sickness. What are the three key benefits of this approach? Number one, it increases immunity by giving the body a chance to the soldiers of our body, an environment. By balancing the kapha, you're giving them environment to become stronger and fight the disease. Second is to avoid side effects. So I have many a time seen that this cold, cough, fever cycle occurs very frequently in many children, and usually is a 3-day cycle, wherein day number 2 is peaking in fever, where the parents have usually been up on their toes for already 24 hours, and day 2 is like fever is shooting up, the kid is just suffering, and the parents give up on their patients and they feel that this is too much, now we need to do something about it, and they resort to antibiotics or some heavy medication. But if you actually try to wait for one more day, and by following all the remedies of course, and wait for one more day, on day 3rd the soldiers of our body, the antibodies, actually win the war, and usually the fever cycle is over in 3 days. So it's just a way to give body chance to overcome and fight this on its own, increasing its immunity, avoiding side effects, and this gives long term good health, because we have seen that a lot of kids who have taken so many antibiotics in their young age do not respond to antibiotics as they grow, because the body becomes, the bacteria become resistant, the body becomes resistant. So how about we give body a chance to develop their own antibodies, increase immunity, and also teach our kids that actually food can be used as medicine. You just have to mindfully tweak your diet. Like the moong dal uttapam doesn't, I mean, it sounds very good, it is very yummy, the kid will enjoy it, and you will add all the nutrients and required things for the child to overcome this illness. So this was about overcoming cough and cold. We can apply this same principle to other doshas also. For example, I see a lot of kids, due to their diet and lifestyle, complain a lot about acid reflux or acidity, and then that's a pitta imbalance. So we can look at the 3 tastes that balance the pitta and the 3 tastes that aggravate the pitta, and form our menu and choose our food ingredients accordingly, and apply for other diseases, and tweak our lifestyle. So let's go to the next one. 4th, pratidinam, making it a lifestyle. And it is very important here. The important point here is about right time. So everything has a right time, and even a right thing done at wrong time gives wrong effects. So that is the importance of time. And Ayurveda gives a lot of importance on dinacharya, and it is also another detailed topic. But in short, we can discuss that we should keep our kids as much close to nature's rhythm as much as possible. Wake up with the sun, rise, sleep with the sunset, eating when the sun is overhead. That time the Agni is high, so that's why the best time to have your lunch is between 10 to 2. And between that time the Agni is high, the fire of digestion is high, and they digest the meals perfectly. That could be the biggest meal of the day. So these are some things. Delaying or skipping meals can actually is a seed to chronic diseases. So there are certain acids that our stomach produces in preparation of digesting meals, and then if we don't give food at that time for the stomach to digest, this acid lingers in the body. And if this event continues to happen very frequently, this acid accumulates, starts eating up the lining of our own stomach, and then you have a spectrum of illnesses, symptoms starting with acidity, leading to chronic ulcers, leading to chronic gastrointestinal problems. So skipping and delaying meals is not the right thing to do. Other things we can instill in our other habits that we can instill into our kids' life is food habits while eating foods, like sitting while eating, not standing, because all the energy of the body goes in legs for the body, in order for the body to stand. So let's focus our energies onto our stomach so that we can digest it nicely. Teach them to finish their plates, so they can take small portions if required, but the habit of finishing their plates. There should be enough breaks between the meals, not binging over foods and junk foods in between. So after a light meal, at least 2 to 4 hours of break, and after a full complete big meal, there should be at least 6 hours of break. That's a good way to start aligning our lifestyle in terms of getting good digestion and following dinacharya. Sit for a few minutes after meal. This seems like a small point, but these days everybody is in a rush push, wanting to just finish things and move. Teach your kids to finish eating, sit for a while, because all the food is going to feed your stress and running activity, then actually nourishing you. So these are small things that you can apply in your life. Thanking the cook, like as a small habit, they can thank the cook, appreciate the food so that they value the food that comes on their table. These small habits go a long way. Now we have covered 4 topics with lot of principles. Now let's go to the 5th one, which is practical application. How these small things, how we are going to make it very practical in life of our kids. So the first thing is, as parents we could start step by step. Everything in life starts as a seed. So as parents we can take advantage of this valuable science of Ayurveda, right from preconception stage to pregnancy nutrition to postpartum. I have seen a lot of mothers, they struggle with breastfeeding their kids, which was such a natural thing, used to happen in olden days. There is so much aid available in the textbooks of Ayurveda, the foods, the herbs. Let's take advantage of all this valuable, priceless, ancient wisdom of knowledge that is available to us, and lead this journey of nutrition with our kids. Plant the seeds of these beautiful ideas in the mind and water them with your belief and wisdom of this wonderful science of Ayurveda. Next is, let's roll up our sleeves. What we can do practically. So small examples, small things that we can do with our kids. I do a lot of these things with my kids. Making your own ghee, which is cultured, probiotic, authentic Ayurvedic ghee, and in the process, from cream to culturing yogurt and then churning the butter, I let my son touch the butter, make butter balls, let him touch the butter, let him feel it. It's a natural moisturizer. It's so calming. And then he learns some Bhagavad Gita verses. So when I actually make ghee, he stirs the ghee and recites some shlokas, and it is actually mentioned in Ayurvedic texts that this ghee, when cooked in presence of Vedic chants, it is very rich in not only physical nutrition, but it is a brain food.
Tasma Chatena Nameran Mahatman Gariyase Brahmano Pyadikartre Ananta Devesha Jagan Nivasa Twamaksharam Sadasat Tatparam Yat Twamadideva Purusha Puranas Twamasya Vishwasya Param Nidanam Vetasi Vetyam Cha Param Cha Dhamam Tvaya Tatam Vishwamananta Rupam.
Physically and mentally and emotionally. So it is such a therapeutic journey, not only for parents but also kids. Don't worry about the mess. You are creating lifetime of memories. So many times when we talk to our friends, we tell them that oh yes, my nani used to make this kind of butter, my dadi used to do this, and then let's create those memories for our kids, that when they grow up they can say that yes, my mother used to make butter from scratch, make ghee from scratch, and I used to help her roll the balls and make the ghee. Let's leave these deep, long lasting impressions on them, create memories and leave the legacy, because what we are going to teach them, they are going to carry on and teach the next generation. We will keep this precious science alive. So it's a very important step that we involve them not only in making ghee but also talking about nutrition and pass on the tidbits of this valuable knowledge to them. And now that we are in this beautiful Krishna fest and Janmashtami is approaching, this butter topic reminds me that our Krishna used to eat lot of butter, and it has a lot of advantage. There must be a reason where our mother Yashoda used to feed butter to Krishna. She had special processes, a number of cows. She used to feed special grass to these cows and then derive the best of the milk and yogurt and feed him the best of the butter. This butter is brain food, and along with mishri, it is said that when you eat butter with mishri, then it calms down hyperactive children. And we know that our Kana was so nutcut that it must be one of the reasons why Mother Yashoda used to feed him makhan and mishri, such that even today we offer our Bal Gopal Makhan and Mishri. So in conclusion, let me leave you all with a ATP formula, which is a direction where you can begin your journey of Ayurveda and parenting. A stands for acquiring right knowledge. Try learning principles of Ayurveda as we did today, because just knowing that particular food is healthy may not go a long way, but if you know the principle and if you are convinced about the knowledge, you will be able to follow this long term. It will sustain and you will pass it on to your kids as we discussed. T stands for teach by example. So simple things like don't get the foods home which you don't want your kids to eat. If you are going to eat chips, your kids are going to ask for chips. So that is unavoidable. Don't get the foods that you don't want them to eat. Sometimes just say some things that encourage your kids to eat healthy. For example, when you are sitting for lunch or dinner, you can say that I don't like this beet so much, but I know that it is very, very healthy for my rakta dhatu or the blood tissue, and so I am going to eat it. The kids hear everything, they are going to register that in their memory, and slowly when you continue doing these things, they are going to be encouraged to follow it. And third is patience and perseverance. Please do not tag your kids that my kid is a fussy eater, my kid is like this, or is not so it doesn't pick healthy foods, because kids see themselves from the lens of their parents. So talk to them in a positive present tense that my kid always makes healthy food choices, he wants to be intelligent and he picks intelligent foods. And you will see over a period of time, if not 100%, you have contributed a lot of growth in terms of choices in the life of in the life of your kids. So all of you who are hearing this session are here to know more about Ayurveda and parenting, and that actually says that you have already begun your first step, your journey towards acquiring right knowledge. So congratulations, and I wish you all the best for continuing this journey, acquiring the ancient wisdom of knowledge and applying it in our modern lifestyles and enhance your parenting. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.